Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Josi podcast. In this episode, I am joined by the one and only Emma. She is a six-figure business coach and mentor, helping other powerhouses to build their businesses in their own unapologetic and rebellious way. I just love her energy and the way she shows up on Instagram as well, which makes me extra excited to welcome you to the show, Emma.
Oh, I'm really, really excited. I know this is going to be a juicy one.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait for it. But before we dive into the conversation, I'd love for you to just introduce yourself and tell what is your story, what makes you you, and most importantly, also what makes you an unapologetic rebel yourself.
Wow, I love that. Do you know, I think I have always been a rebel, not a bad rebel as in rebellious, but always really kind of been someone who was very much driven by, if someone said I couldn't do it, I'd like to prove them wrong. I've never really liked being told what to do or authority. And so at school, while I was an all right student, I probably could have been a bit better, but I've never really liked to be put in a box. And I've always liked to have that creative freedom to go against the grain, to explore what's possible, and to just push boundaries a little bit. I suppose in my character, I'm a little bit cheeky, a little bit mischievous, and like to push boundaries. But the reality is, Unapologetic Rebel came what was birthed through me because I lost that side of myself. So I've been in the online coaching business now for on and off 10 years. I've got an 8-year-old son, so to start off with, it was just literally dabbling in it while he was a newborn, and then it really kind of grew from there. But on my own personal journey, I kind of went from a traditional nonconformist, a very proud nonconformist, to suddenly feeling like I was being pulled in a million and one different directions, going on the should train of what was expected of me or what was expected in that industry. And being new into the entrepreneurial industry, because my background is medical sales and training, so I was in the corporate world for 15 years. When I moved into this, I was obviously a newbie, and I was very naive and was willing to be, it's 11:11, willing to be guided and supported, and kind of was searching for the answers outside of myself, and let too many opinions of other people impact me.
How did that feel for you to know that you're being diluted and you weren't true to yourself anymore? Do you remember?
Frustrating. Yeah, it felt so frustrating. I felt very helpless. I felt really annoyed and disappointed with myself because I've never been like that before. But for a while, I didn't see it either. So you can get so caught up in all of the doingness. And, when you're setting up your own business in the infancy, you're doing a lot yourself, and so there's a lot of learning that is required. Some things that you aren't naturally good at, that you've got to get better at, and so there is a lot of good in a lot of the advice that is out there, but you can get so caught up in all the info and all of everyone else's experience and their opinions that you lose your own. And I did lose my own. And there were snippets of me coming back throughout the years, but it's probably been, I would say last year was like my coming home to myself season.
Yeah.
It was really like, my dad used to write diaries about me and my sister. He's quite known for that. He likes his little stats. He was a very good dad. And I remember reading part of this diary not that long ago, when I was 15, and I was just reading it, and I was like, where has that girl gone? Because I, as I said at the start, I've always been quite a ballsy person, never liked to be told what to do, always known my own mind. I've never been easily influenced. I've always been quite in control. I was, very, very good at athletics when I was younger. And I trusted in myself and my abilities. I would bet on myself. And I was like reading it. I was like, where is she? Where's this girl gone? Like, I'm not acting ballsy or somewhat audacious and maybe slightly obnoxious. And I think there is, we worry about being arrogant and being obnoxious,
Yes.
really go after our true desires and our true dreams. But there is a requirement of us to step into that part of us, because it is about owning your audacious goals. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, where has she gone? And so that was really like the start. And I found my people. Again, I'm very untraditional in how I do things, and that's why I never really. I mean, I was very successful in corporate, but I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so having like setting up your own business and having that freedom was just like everything to me. But I couldn't find my people, and they were like, somebody, you've got to focus on your niche, you got to do this, you got to do that. And everything in me was just screaming out, but I don't want to be put in a box, and I am my niche, and all of that. And so I wasted a lot of time and energy trying to define myself and put
Mm-hmm.
myself in this box so I could then tell people this is what I do. Um,
Yes.
and actually, I then found back end of 2022, I found what were my people in my industry who proved to me that you don't have to do it in the
Mm-hmm.
way that sold to us and the traditional way. And it was just like, oh my God, this is just so liberating. And thank
Mm-hmm.
God for that. And so I immersed myself in their conversations, in their containers, and really allowed myself to be rebirthed
Mm-hmm.
in some capacity, and to start to see my business, myself, my brilliance, my uniqueness, all of that jazz in such a different light, that then allowed me to have that creative freedom and trust in myself to go, do you know what? Actually, there are a million and one different ways to do this. Why am I trying to be like everybody else? I've never wanted to be like anybody else. I've
Mm-hmm.
always like been quite proud of who I am. But to add into that, which it does kind of give insights into why I suppose I lost myself and why I'm now so passionate about it, is I went through quite a lot of trauma in my
Mm-hmm.
early adulthood, sexual and physical abuse. And then when we got married, we embarked on a quite a hard fertility journey. And my son is natural. And but I had 3 horrendous miscarriages, and it spanned over 9 years. And so there were parts of me that was quite happy to hide and to just go along with what everyone else was doing
Mm-hmm.
while I healed. But the natural core of me is someone who likes to be obnoxious, ruffle feathers, all of that. And so I kind of want to bring that in, because there are sometimes seasons where that suits us better, and there is an underlying reason for that. But then we can stay in it too long because we've become a bit institutionalized to it and a bit habitual with it. But the reality is, you at your core, that true part of you will always come to the surface.
Yes.
It's just what you then do with it. Do you go, no, I still need to heal? Do you go, oh, actually, I'm too scared now, this is quite comfortable? And or do you listen to that calling and that trust in yourself? And so it's been a bit like that. But it was really like I'd got to that place in my healing. I got into that place of finding my own people and finding myself again. And it all kind of then came together there, where I then birthed
Mm-hmm.
Unapologetic Rebel. And for me, it's just so obvious. But I needed to go through what I went through in order
Mm-hmm.
to get where I am right now with the work that I do.
Absolutely. And I just love your story. I find it really, really inspiring. Like there's so many different points where I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to ask you about that.
Mhm.
But I feel like one question that's on top of my mind right now, do you feel like the traumas that you have experienced and those challenges that you had to work through in your life, in what way have they contributed to you maybe even losing your self-trust and to feel safer in diluting your voice rather than actually backing yourself,
Mm,
betting on yourself again?
mm. It has played a massive part, a massive part. Trauma, and also then becoming a mum as well. But
Mhm.
with the trauma side of things, I lost a part of myself I'll never gain back. Um, and but I also gained a part of me that I never would. know about myself had I not gone through it. And I am a massive believer that everything happens for a reason, and I genuinely wouldn't change it, because it's given me an insight into this world and into me and into the power of people
Yes.
that not many people have. And so it's become a bit of my superpower in that respect. But it has massively impacted me, not for the good, for a long time, definitely for but yeah, it made me dilute myself, it made me hide, it made me um compromise so much, because I didn't feel worthy and I didn't want the attention and I didn't want to be seen, and I was so confused and hurt and angry and all of that, that I needed to go through those emotions to learn how to deal with those emotions, to then lead other people who perhaps go through those emotions, and get to a place where I'm comfortable. And for me, I'm comfortable at 95%. I will, and I think there's this thing when you overcome or you've been through something, we put so much pressure that we have to 100% be all right with it. If we're not,
Yeah.
then it's still controlling us. And my husband can sometimes say to me, I thought you'd worked out like through this and got over it. And it's like, you will never ever fully get over something like this. You learn to become the person that can navigate through it. And so I always am a 95% girl. I will 95% of the time I'm fine. Things don't trigger me. I'm pretty cool. Everything's great. But there will be that 5% wobble where something will happen, and invariably it will be something connected to the emotions of being out of control, taken advantage of, made to do things I don't want to do. And it might not make obvious sense to the outside world, but makes complete sense to me. And if I recognize that and I own those triggers and I support and love myself through those triggers, then I can get myself through the other side. But by trying to always be 100% and to prove I'm okay now, everything's fine now, I'm over it, was just exhausting.
Yeah.
And actually, it gave me the grace to just be human, but also to heal faster, and to then look at what lessons I can take from this to make it like a really solid superpower it's meant to have, that makes me so unique and can then help people in ways that very few people can.
Absolutely. And I love what you say there around the 95%, because so often we put so much pressure on ourselves that we have to fully heal and we need to get over this. And then we never have to face it again. And
Yeah.
I myself, for a while, I thought that as well. I was like, I need to heal. I need to let go of all the trauma, like the conditioning I have received from parents of never feeling good enough or not being wanted. Like I literally didn't know, even before I found coaching, I didn't know where my place was in this world. I was just like, why am I even here? And I worked through it and I was like, oh yeah, I've worked through it now, right? Like it's gone. But it's not. It's really an ongoing journey. You have obviously the days where you're totally, you are okay, you're fine, you're happy. But then there will be those moments where it just comes back, like something triggers you. And as you say, you just learn to navigate better and better through those moments so you can like heal faster, but also just get over it kind of like faster in that moment again. But it will come back
Yeah.
anyway. And like just accepting that and giving yourself the grace and I guess also freedom to know it's okay if
Yeah.
it comes back. You don't need to be 100%
Exactly that.
fine. Yeah, you can still move on. You can still grow. You can still be at your best, even with those challenges in your life.
I think it's that piece is really, really important. It's allowing it to come to the surface and honoring it.
Yes.
And for years, I buried my head and went in denial. I went traveling around the world, had the best year of my life, but I drank way too much to just suppress everything. And now it's like, do you know what? I'm going to honor this and move through it, because this is part of the process and it's coming to the surface to be dissolved. And so it is really important to allow those feelings to be there, but it's then having the choice in how you respond to that. And I think that's the key, because we can react in victim mode, for me,
Yes.
and go and take ourselves back down to where we used to be, or we can respond in, okay, this is coming up, this is triggering me in some capacity, let's look what this is saying, what am I making it mean? And that's
Mm-hmm.
it's like, what are we actually making this mean, and is there truth in that? And because we can hand our power over and go, oh, it's making me mean that I can't do this, or that I'm shit, or
Yeah, poor me.
yeah, or it's just showing where there's areas that perhaps still need cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, it will filter through in the path of least resistance. And if something needs to come up, then it's going to come up through a trigger point that is allowing that to float
Mm-hmm.
to the surface. And it doesn't have to make sense. The whole how that came to the surface doesn't have to make sense. It's knowing, it's looking beneath and going, okay, this trigger's coming through. I see the pattern. I recognize the pattern. You mentioned safety earlier on, and trust. Those are two massive things I work on every single day. But definitely regulating my nervous system. And so if it's coming
Mm.
through, it's like, right, okay, am I safe? Is it okay? Blah blah blah. And learning how to get myself from that state of panic to, actually, it's all right, like, we can move through this. We've moved through it before. It doesn't mean anything
Mm-hmm.
bad is going to happen, or that I'm not meant to do this. It's like, it's just a process.
Mm. I love that. Do you have any like specific tips for someone who wants to learn how to regulate their nervous system? What would you do in that moment? Like I for example, I love shaking or like just
Yeah,
moving my body,
yeah.
getting into exercise, sweating it out, or also just listening and getting lost in music. That helps me because it's like a good trigger. Or
Mhm.
even like smells sometimes can really help me.
Yeah,
Like peppermint oil on my wrists or like nice perfume because it just kind of like takes me out of the moment.
yeah, disrupts.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, music is massive for me. Exercise
Hmm.
is massive, massive, massive for me. Um, so they would be two. I do the shaking. I also
Hmm.
flick. If there's a thought in my head, I
Oh.
out, um,
Hmm.
which is a bit random. But I mean, I do a lot of meditation and energy cleanses, and so for me, the biggest thing, as someone who is a bit of a control freak and a really overactive mind, and who doesn't know how to relax. Obviously, I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and so
Hmm.
I've got years of experience with that. But I love playing around with it. But for me, every single day, I will do an energy cleanse. So whether that's just a simple cutting cords, or whether it's an energy cleanse and activation,
Hmm.
but I will be doing some form of regulating my nervous system, of feeling safe, of calming things down, of releasing anything that is feeling toxic or negative that is impacting me. And that can be anything from 7 minutes to half an hour. Um, I play around with. I can actually add one for you for the show notes if you want, but
That would be
I
amazing.
play around
Yes.
with ones that cleanse but also activate at the end, so you reconnect with your desires and your goals and see it in motion once you've cleansed your energy. Because for me, it's just massive, like safety and trust is a conscious choice for me every day.
Hmm.
Every day. And it gets easier. And there are some days it's a lot easier. And that's really important, because sometimes we can get caught up in a block or in a story that actually is still not there anymore. And so acknowledging that it's getting easier is really, really important. But yeah, I've incorporated it into part of my daily routine. So I
Hmm.
always exercise every morning. And I'm always listening to something to fuel my mind. That straight away just regulates me,
Hmm.
because I'm releasing stagnant energy. I'm focusing on positive things within my mind. I then will always do an energy cleanse and a card pull. And
I
they
love
are
that.
things that just, and from that you build evidence. So it's then, okay, I'm stacking evidence of where I can trust myself, where I can regulate myself, where I feel safe. If I'm up leveling, I've up leveled before and I was safe, nothing bad happened, it's okay. And so it's just having that evidence. So then when the ego comes in and goes, well, don't do that, I can be like, actually, yeah, I can, because I've got all of
Mhm.
the evidence to back it up.
Do you feel like you just mentioned up leveling, right? Do you feel like there was like a massive breakthrough moment for you in your business journey, but maybe also your corporate journey, where your work on your authentic self and expressing that as well has helped you to get there?
I don't know if there's been like one big massive. I think it's
Mhm.
an accumulation of, and for me, I find that they're a lot more potent.
Mhm.
Generally, we like to have the big aha because then we can celebrate it and it's like, woohoo, look at this. But
Yes.
actually, it's often the small things that add up. And I just celebrating and acknowledging, for me, like gratitude has been a key player throughout. But just acknowledging how far I've come and just having moments with myself to be like, bloody hell, Em, like when I look at where I was to where I am now, I am strong and I have so much wisdom and I am deserving and I am worthy. And it's just catching those moments and
Mhm.
cutting yourself a bit of slack, because we can always strive for more and want more. And I think that's probably been massive for me, is that I'm a manifesting generator. I spin a lot of plates. I'm quite good at like multitasking, but I will then just take on so much. And it's like, actually just finishing the day, instead of being frustrated that I've not done X, Y, Z, whatever, it's like just trusting that I've done enough. I've done
Mhm.
what I needed to do. As long as I am like doing my part in that, I'm not just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. But if I can, hands on heart, say, do you know what, I've done stuff that will move me, um, then that is enough. That is enough. I keep pushing, 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 pushing all
Mhm.
the time. And the reality is, when you're pushing all the time, you don't have the space to receive. And that is, again, something I have to work on every day, because I think when you have gone through something in your past, there's a tendency to feel scared to slow down, because if you
Yes.
slow down, the path might catch up with you again, and you're like, no, I've got to keep being one or two steps ahead because I don't want to be back there again. And so we can just constantly be on that,
Mhm.
what's the word, a hamster wheel of just
Yes.
moving, because we're scared to stop. And it's like, actually, again, gathering evidence of where it's safe to stop and what good things happen when you stop, because we can't receive if we're always going. We can't see things if we're always looking for the next thing. We can't hear guidance if we're consuming ourselves with noise 24/7 to distract us. And so I've really started to fall in love with that part of it and to see the good in it, while
Mm.
regulating. It's safe, nothing bad's gonna happen. It's not like the past is gonna catch up with me anymore. Like, I'm always a couple of steps ahead now.
That's so powerful. And it resonates so much with me because so I'm a manifester, right?
Yeah.
So I spark ideas left, right, and center. And I'm actually, contrary to many manifestors, I'm actually pretty good at doing shit. But what my problem is, as you say, like I do a lot. Like I tend to multitask. I can easily write a to-do list that's pages long.
Yeah.
And I, for a while, I would beat myself up if I wouldn't like complete this whole to-do list. Nowadays, I maximum write down like 3 things that I'm
Mm,
one excited about to do, but also that I know I can do it. Whatever I do extra in the time I give myself, amazing. But I
mm,
also really had to learn like I'm still worthy, I'm still making progress, I'm still doing the right thing, even if I don't do 100 things in one day.
mm. Yeah. Do you know, because obviously I've got a podcast too, and
Mhm.
which you're gonna be on it.
Yeah.
And again, I had to have a word with myself just a couple of days ago. because the segment in which you're going to be on,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm interviewing, incredible guests, it's like I would suddenly think I needed to have 25 million questions in the back of my head to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have brilliant conversations. But then what kept coming, I kept downloading was like, just ask a few potent questions, keep it shorter, but more potent, more, expansive.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, it doesn't always have to be lots of stuff. It's like actually sometimes just hearing one or two lines from someone's mouth gives you that love punch, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God. Even though it might have been an hours long episode, you're walking away with a 30-second snippet and it is going to change your life. And it's like, well, actually, we don't need to fill people with so much stuff. So I look,
Yes.
my son's got so much stuff and he's 8 and he plays with just one or two things. And it's like, we have this tendency to think we have to fill
Mm-hmm.
and fill our lives with things and whatnot, but we really don't. It's like just having that one or two punchy questions that are going to open up so much more is far better than 10. It's that whole quality over quantity.
Mm. Yes, that honestly I love that, because I am literally a minimalist. Like, when it comes to physical stuff, I like having as less as possible, but
Mm.
also mentally,
Mm.
I can't deal with too much stuff going on. And I think one of the funniest moments I ever experienced was on this journey when I went to like a shopping center. I used to love shopping. I used to love it. I used to have 50 scarves in my wardrobe because I loved scarves, right?
Yeah.
And now when I go into a shopping center, I'm just like overwhelmed. It's just too much. And I'm like, no, I actually just want to stick with what I have and treasure it and love it. And I feel like there's so much around us that constantly like bombards us, right? With
Mm.
have more of this and need to do more of that. And it's just like so crazy. And it's easy, obviously, then to think, oh yeah, more is better.
Mm.
But as you say, like, no, sometimes it's just those 3 to 4 potent questions.
Mm.
Sometimes it's those 1 to 2 nuggets that you give someone in one episode that changes their lives. And there's this great example of when you change the direction of an airplane by one
Mm. Mm. Yes.
will come up in a completely different destination. And
Yeah.
it's just this 1% change that you implemented, and that's enough.
Totally, totally. I mean, yeah, I'm like 1%, 1 degree. It takes you down a whole different pathway.
Mm.
Which, like, when you were saying, was there a big aha? It's because we think we got to go from straight on to right in
Yes.
order to get that change. When actually you just deviate a little bit, you just make that subtle move, and it will get you where you need to go, rather than just everything's got to be big and like,
Mhm.
no, it hasn't. Just go with subtle refinement and tweaks. That's what, because when you think, oh, it's got to be big, we make it so big in
Mhm.
our head and oh, I'm not sure I'm ready to make that big change yet and to do that big amount of work. And so I'll just wait and I'll just hold off because it feels really big. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, when you see it actually, like you just said, that 1 degree or that 1%, it's going to take you totally to a whole new location destination that is right for you. And
Yes.
it's so much easier than just doing one big thing and then never again touching it.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have like some examples of like or like specific advice that you would give someone to give them like this 1% nugget if they are struggling maybe with finding their voice or like showing up confidently as themselves? Like, where would they start, or what could they take away from this episode today and go out into the world and implement so they can start finding themselves again?
That's a very good question. What's intuitively coming in for me is that often people know, they
Mhm.
know the answer to that. It's just they've either thought it's not big enough
Mhm.
and so it won't work, or that it's too scary. And it's like, for me, it's always while we are divinely guided and supported, there are standards that are required of us. And in order for things to change and for us to get different outcomes, we've got to play a part in that. And so it's really about sitting in silence with yourself and intuitively checking in with what is it that you should be doing, because it's maybe an email that you should be sending, a program that you want to be creating and launching, and it's just having the courage to do it. Because for me, one of the biggest things that's helped to regulate my nervous system is that everything is working in my favor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't feel like it yet, even if the whole evidence around me does not support that, it is. And if we can start to trust in that and look at every experience, scenario, obstacle, challenge as a growth lesson leading towards our desires, then it just gives you that momentum and that courage to move. And I don't ever expect people, like, no one's asking you to change the world today, but what do you know to do today that is going to move you forward? Because 99.9% of the people I've spoken to, they just don't have all of the answers. They're not sure how it's going to work. They don't know what other people are going to think. And we can bring, and that's all ego distraction. Is like, trust yourself enough to do that one thing today that you know you should do. And off the back of that, receive the feedback that comes from that. And while, yeah, I hope it's, good feedback and it's moving about, the reality is any feedback is good, because it's going to give you refinement points. It's going to show you where you need to keep tweaking. It's going to show you what not to do, all of these things. And we can all have this great dream of, like, one day I'm going to do this, but until you put it into action, you're not going to get the clarity. You're not going to get the feedback that's going to allow you to make that happen. And so just trust yourself to just do that thing and be open that you're supported. And if it's not how you want it to be, it's not that it's not working and you shouldn't do it. It's like, look at what that message is. Look in it, not on the surface.
Yes, I love what you just said. And I feel like this is just the power of going inwards as well. Knowing yourself, trusting your intuition, and taking the next step rather than wishing and waiting or complaining or being in this victim player like mentality of, oh, but I'm not capable enough, but I can't do this, like this is too big, this is too far away. But if you keep on trusting, keep on going inward, keep on taking those steps, as you say, like after a while you will like, holy shit, like actually I've come a lot, like a long way already, and I'm really close. And also, I love what you said about, like, even if it doesn't look like it's working, or even if right now shit hits the fan, quite literally, there's still lessons in that kind of like experience that will then help you once you achieve that goal to, one, I always feel like fully appreciate it, but two, also know how to actually navigate that space. Because if you were to imagine, like, if you dream of being a superstar and you're being booked on the stage to come on like in 1 hour, you will not be able to cope with that. Like, you will freak the fuck out. But it's like the consistent practice of taking the steps, having those no's, having that bad feedback in a way, but also obviously the good nuggets, the support system around, and that self-belief, that self-trust that will then help you to one day be on the stage and, I don't know, be a speaker, be a singer, whatever it is that you want to put out there into the world.
Yeah, everything's a training ground. I mean, I'm a sports person, but it's like, you don't wake up and suddenly can run a marathon without training, and you're going to make mistakes on that training program to get to the 26 months. But it's the good is in both the good and, like, the good results and the losses, the failings, the mistakes, whatever it may be. And too many of us get so caught up in making mistakes and failure, in inverted commas, means something about us, when it's not. It's, if you can depersonalize it and just see this is part of your journey towards where you want to go, you're not superhuman. You're going to make mistakes, and it's in those mistakes you learn the most. And there's not one person on this planet that doesn't make mistakes. And so, because again, we can pedestal it and think, oh, it's all right for so and so because they've got their 7-figure business, their dream life, their this, that, and the other, everything's rosy. Well, the reality is that's not true. Like, we're all human, having human experiences, and we're doing things that are new to us in any given moment. And so at the infancy of anything, you're walking into the unknown, there's uncertainty. So there will be inevitable wobbles and doubt and lack of evidence and stuff. And that's where you got to build your self-trust, build that evidence bank around you to go, do you know what? I've up leveled before and I was fine. This is just another up level. I trust in myself. I trust in my intuition. I know what I need to do. I know I'm fully supported. And I know that how the ego works is going to pull a whole load of mind shit, I call it mind shit, to the surface. And that's all natural and that's all part of the process. So I'll then just work on cleaning that up because that's blocking me from getting to where I want to go. And if you can just live like that without personalizing it all, and I know it's easy to say, not always easy to do, but in its simplest terms, that's how you keep moving. Do what you know to do what you're called to do, and clean up the mind shit that is telling you can't do it.
Amen.
Mm.
That literally sums it up so perfectly. And I'd love to ask you some last fire round questions as well, just to wrap up. They are only to be answered with one word or one short sentence. And before we start, I would love to ask you to give me a number between 1 and 10.
8.
Oh, okay. So there will be 8 questions I'm going to ask you.
Oh my god, I feel like I'm about to have an exam.
That's fine. You'll do your aces, I'm sure. Right. What is the Emma way of living and leading your best life?
The Emma way is my way. It's doing what lights me up and what makes me feel alive.
I love that. When shit hits the fan, what do you tell yourself to get through it?
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. And I know it's only one statement and that it's happening for me. I think that's just it's obviously happening for a reason. So what's the reason?
Yes, I feel like this is one of the best mindset shifts or perspective shifts that you can ever implement in your life, that it's always happening for you rather than to you.
Yeah, massive. Tony Robbins, isn't it? But yeah, massive.
Right, next question. Your key habit for success.
Ooh. Oh my gosh.
Take your time.
Oh God. Key habit for success.
Or your favorite.
Follow the pull.
I like that. What is your favorite book that you would recommend to everyone?
Rich as Fuck by Amanda Francis.
Yes, oh my gosh, I love that book. I literally read it
She
twice.
is just the queen.
Right? I really
So
love her.
unapologetic. Love her. Yeah.
What advice would you love to give the listeners?
Trust yourself.
What is the theme song of your life?
Champion by Carrie Underwood.
Yes, I like that.
We have my son sing it all the time.
What is your main takeaway from today?
Oh my gosh. What learning takeaway?
Anything that you feel like you might ponder on after this chat, anything that will maybe stick with you as well? Anything that you reflected on and that's like, oh yeah, I've done that.
Well, I could feel emotions coming up in how far I've come actually when I was talking about it. So probably that, like, again, it is so easy to forget. And actually, when you're in these situations, because talking about yourself, which doesn't always happen, it's like, do you know what? I'm all right. I'm doing all right.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So probably that. That pat on the back, like, Yeah, you're good. You're good.
You are indeed. Last question. What job would you do in an alternate universe?
Job.
Or whatever profession, whatever it is, hobby.
I'd love to be a singer, but I can't sing for shit. But I love being on stage. So if I could sing, my husband can sing, but I like, when you look at like Taylor Swift being out on a stage and there's 96,000 people. Oh my God, I just love that. Or with Tony Robbins, where he's got his whole studio of Zoom screens. That to me would be amazing.
I love that. I was actually listening to a podcast today from Mel Robbins where
Mm.
she was talking about what is your Grammy moment.
Oh, like
I
that.
feel like it almost sounds like this would be your Grammy moment to be on stage like Tony Robbins,
Yeah.
inspiring and talking to like so many people, helping them living a better life.
Yeah, see, it's weird. I've got photographic memory, but I struggle with visualizations. And this might be like quite a good tip for people who do, because I then
hmm
talk it into existence. And I did that in the month that I fell with my son. Um, but it's really weird because although I can't normally visualize, I've got this clear vision in my head all the time. And that is
Mm.
me doing a live event that I've always wanted to do, and my son coming and joining me on stage, and me and playing Champion by Carrie Underwood, because me and Max have sung that all the time, because I'm very much
hmm
like You Are the Champion, and the words in it are just brilliant, and we're both like up on the stage and everyone's just dancing. And so that would, I suppose, be my Grammy moment. It's like that I can see that so clearly, and my parents
Mm.
side, and my husband's there and he's emotional and he's crying, and my sister's there, and it's like, yay, this is just the moment where it all kind
hmm
of makes sense, but that I've got Max by my side and he's up there with me. That
That
gets,
literally sounds like a crystal clear visualization.
yeah, yeah.
I love that.
Emotional now. I'm in the feels of that now.
Giving you the chills.
It does. It does.
I can't wait to be in the audience and see you on stage.
I'd love for you to be in the audience.
Of
Yeah.
course.
It's going to happen. I've put it out there now on your podcast, so I've got a
hmm
don't break promises.
Universe is going to deliver now.
Yeah,
There's no way out.
yeah, no way out, and that's good. But yeah, that
Love it.
just that I don't break promises has been another big thing for me, actually, because
hmm
sometimes we can let our fear get in the way, and so I often reframe it. If I can't do it for me, do it for my
hmm
people, because I'm here for a reason, and so
Yes.
I'm not going to break my promise to my people, and that helps me move beyond the fear.
100%. Actually, I recorded this morning another episode where I was talking about if you are like stopping yourself, like not expressing yourself to the fullest, if you're not your most authentic self or more aligned with your values and what you can actually bring, like if you dilute or if you tone yourself down, the environment you're in, like the people around you, they will not be able to flourish and grow as much as they could if you were at your best. And
Mm,
I just had like this metaphor in my mind of you being like a waterfall. And if you put like a prop on it and the water is just dribbling out, like nothing will grow, like everything will just be bare. And you might have like some weeds growing here and there. But if you let it all out and if you express yourself to the fullest, you will have like this beautiful jungle with all of this diversity of other people and everybody is like growing and flourishing. And it's just so much more magical. And I feel like if you tap into this unapologetic rebel energy, right,
mm,
you will give the world the best gift you can
mm,
because the world needs what you have to offer. The world needs to hear your stories.
mm.
And I love that you are such a strong advocate for that because
Thank
we
you.
need that. We need
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Oh no, that means a lot. And that's getting me now. I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel very emotional.
That's fine. This is a safe space.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I love having conversations like this, because I just think something comes alive when you get two people in the same room or, you know,
Mm.
chatting to one another and just opening up that conversation for other people to be a part of. And I just think so much lands when you're listening without pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see yourself in other people. It's like it gives you hope. It gives you like the momentum to try, to keep going, to maybe try again, try that one more time.
Yes.
If you feel like I've done it and I've done it and I've done it, maybe today is the day that you try it again, but you try it from an energetic point of view that it can work, not that it's not gonna. Yeah.
Yes. It's kind of like this accelerator, like this mini boost. And it's like, oh, actually, I can do
Mm,
this. Love
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Oh,
Yay.
thank you so much. I absolutely love this conversation. And like also for anyone listening, if you want to get in touch with Emma, I will link everything down below. Do check her out. Do say hi. Everything is in the description box. And yeah, that's a wrap. Are there any like last words from you that you want to put out there, or are you feeling complete for today?
I f- do- I was just going to wait and see because I was going to answer them quick. I think I feel complete. I think for me, it's just trust yourself
Hmm.
and to not take everything so personally when things don't look in the way that we want it to look, because there are a million and one ways to do it, and we don't always have the answers. But if you trust in yourself and you move with that knowing, you
Mm,
can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. Yeah.
that's so true. Love that. Thank you so much for being here today with me.
Thank
Also
you for having
to
me.
everybody. Yeah, no, honestly, the honor is all mine. I'm like, yes, this was amazing. I'm so glad I asked you to come on and to also for me to come on to your show. I can't wait to
Oh
do that
yeah.
too. So also to the listeners, thank you so much for listening. And we will see you next week with another episode. Bye.
Bye.
Do you need like a quick stretch before?
Oh no, I think I just need a really long massage.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't mind that either, to be fair.
Yeah.